Good morning, friends. This is Amita Ghosh from Resolve Counseling and Consulting in Greater Cincinnati. We are a marriage and relationship therapy center, and we also work with clients with anxiety, stress, and depression. So today I wanted to talk to you about a few things that we can do to improve our relationships in our family and with our spouses, with our children. So what's happened in the last few decades, maybe more like 15 years, is that we've become very dependent on technology, and our attention span is not very good. And I've talked about this before, and I'm just as much a victim of that as everybody else. But what we tend to do is we get sort of caught up in busyness of life, and it starts to affect our family relationships, our relationships with our spouse and partner. So few things. I'm going to talk about 7 things that you could do. Of course, there are more than 7, but today, for the purpose of today's talk, I'm going to mention 7 separate things that you could be doing and keeping in your mind when you interact with your family. And the first one is embracing imperfection. So what does that mean? Embracing imperfection means that we accept that we are imperfect, and so is our partners, our spouses. You know, they have imperfections as well. So when we expect things to be perfect, we can often get annoyed and irritated when things don't go that way. So be open and understand and remind yourself that it's okay to be human. And as human beings, we are learning every day, and we usually tend to learn when we make mistakes. And it's okay to make mistakes. When you are being too tough on yourself, tell yourself that it's all right. I am in the process of learning. I am not a perfect parent. I am not a perfect spouse. I am a good enough parent and a good enough spouse. And give yourself kudos for doing the things that you are doing. Maybe wrap your arms around yourself, give yourself a nice warm hug, or you could even just, touch your face and say, you're doing as well as you can. And be kind to yourself. The kinder we are with ourselves, we are able to be present for the significant people in our lives. The next thing I want to suggest is listen with curiosity. So what does that mean? That means that you're not distracted when you are talking to your partner and spouse, or you are listening to your children. It's easy to get distracted because we have such busy lives. However, maybe putting the phone down and just really looking at their face and showing curiosity and really wanting to know what's going on with them, that can go such a long way. As a therapist, I can tell you that yes, I've gone to school for many years, and I've got degrees, and I learned theories and techniques, but ultimately what really helps clients is having another person who is there to listen without judgment or preconceptions. And your family members and people in your life are looking for the same thing. They're looking for you to just listen to them and be present there for them. So as a practice, I would encourage you once a day to put your phone down, put your iPad down, turn around from the computer when you are working. If somebody comes in and talks to you, just focus on them. Even if it is for 5 minutes, focus on them entirely, and do that without preconceptions and judgment, without saying, oh God, I already know what they're going to say, or I know what their angle is. And again, I'm just as much, victim of that as everybody else. So that's my second suggestion to you. The third would be to communicate courageously. So what does that mean? That means being honest, but you want to be honest with kindness. being honest with kindness means you are communicating your needs, you're communicating your wants, you're communicating your disappointments, but you're also doing it not to hurt the other person, but to really enhance communication and enhance their understanding of where you're coming from. So oftentimes when we are hurt, just instinctively our attitude and tendency is to hurt the other person, and we can do that with the tone of our voice, with the words we choose, and we may sort of put it under the guise of I'm being clear and I'm being honest, but there is a way to be honest yet kind. So I would encourage you to think of how do I communicate my needs and wants and disappointments to my friends and family and my spouse, where I am being honest and clear, but I'm also being kind and courageous. So courageous is about being honest, and you're not sort of sugarcoating things, you're not downplaying things. You're being honest and courageous, but you're also going to be kind and think of how would I take it if it came at me in a negative way. So being kind allows people to hear us, and when we hear each other, we tend to do much better. So the next thing, number 4, I would say practice appreciation and gratitude. So we often take things for granted in our lives. We wake up, we're like, well, yeah, of course my kid is supposed to get A's in school, or of course my husband is supposed to take me out, to dinner or whatever. So, but when they do those things, what's the saying? You go much further with, or you catch bees with honey or sugar than with whatever. I can't remember the saying, but you get my point that, being appreciative of somebody is letting them know that you are appreciating what they've done. It's giving positive feedback. I think one way I put it in my sessions with clients is that if you water the weeds, then the weeds will grow. And if you don't water the flowers will die. So if you want to see more flowers in your life, you need to be watering the flowers. So ask yourself, what am I paying attention to? Am I appreciating the right things, or am I just focusing on the negative? So really appreciate the things that your family and children do for you, your spouse does for you, and see how much more they'll start doing those things. Forgive. Forgiveness comes from being, imperfect. So forgive yourself, forgive your friends and family members. And I want to be clear that I'm not saying you should forgive that are very harmful or hurtful, but at the same time, just recognize that we are human and we make mistakes, and holding on to resentments and anger only hurts you. So in Buddhism, there is a saying that holding on to anger is like holding on to a burning coal in your hand with the intention of throwing it at somebody else. The person who gets hurt is you. So forgive them for mistakes they've made. Support each other, encourage each other, encourage your spouse, encourage your children, support them when they need the support. And finally, have fun, really, really have fun. So John Gottman, who has done a lot of research and work with couples, has come up with a formula, and he said it's mathematically proven that for every one negative thing that happens in your family or negative interaction that happens with you and your spouse or your children, you need to have at least 5 positive things to sort of balance it out. We know that life has difficulties and we're going to have negative things happen, but you need to be very purposeful and mindful about bringing positivity into your interactions with your family. So I hope those few 7 steps will help you, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. It's been snowing here in Cincinnati. It looks pretty, but I'm sure it'll all melt by the end of the evening. Well, you guys have a great weekend, and this is Amita Ghosh. Please leave a comment down below, and let me know if there's any other topics you want to talk about. Take care. Bye-bye.